level of the New National Party? I'm sure there have been discussion between the ranks of the New National Party. Ways you think you can curve it down? I mean, you may not want to throw everything out, but maybe you could tell me ways in which we think we can curve the level of violence that we've seen in Grenada today.
Okay, so a few years ago, we had a situation in the country where you had the emergence of gangs, and quite a lot was happening. And then we saw a leadership from the level one. The Minister of Youth at the time was Mr. Eminent Peer, take a rest in the situation. You had Ms. Brenda Hood and others come into the fore and bringing the social partners together to find a way at how we can deal with those gangs. And it worked. What I am proposing to the authorities at this point in time, let us go back to those social organizations that we have developed. For one, I'm not sure how active the police.
Well, I was just about to ask if most of those social organizations are they existing? Because we don't hear much about them as we used to.
I'm not sure. That is why it's concerning, because you're not hearing from anybody. But you had the police. Royal Grenada Police Force having the Police Boys Club. And I think this was an excellent opportunity where the young people were given opportunities to, as I said, excel, to deal with social problems and so forth. You had the cadets. That is another avenue where I'm not sure what is happening there at this point in time. But my key focus this morning would be the role of the church at this point in time. And I'm calling my fellow ministers to see this as an attack on not just the country, but the churches as well. Because the church represents what happens within the society. Let me break this down. I don't want to be stone to be thrown at here. But peace and safety in the country is directed by the church. And I'm asking the church, let us take that role that was given to us to ensure that we advocate for peace and safety. Whatever we have to do, be it forums in various locations, let us do it. But there must be right now a coming out. Yes, the church will be indoors praying, but I think we have to do more than this. A few years ago, we've had a situation where the church was advocating from one quarters that we probably have to change the government. It was the NNP at the time because crime was they were responsible for crime. I would never say that. I think this was a backward statement. Crime is an indication of a breakdown in the society. And if there is a breakdown in the society, let's find the root cause. If you want to blame one organization and say they're responsible, then you're basically abdicating your responsibility as a church.
So in other words, you're not saying that you're blaming government. Government is cannot be blamed.
Listen, we all have to take blame for the situation that we have right now. So if you're going to single out one entity and do this, whoever is doing this abdicating their responsibility, because we are citizens of this country and this affects all of us. We would have contributed in some way or the other. One may want to say government have more blame. You can go ahead and you can say so, because a lot of people who were expecting something didn't receive it. And when we look at some of the crimes that is being perpetrated right now, if you trace it back, you realize there are serious social issues here that has to be addressed. Another issue is you have one clinical psychologist in the country, and that person has been relieved of the duties. But that's an important role that has to be played. Only yesterday I was told, school's on vacation right now, but you have a conference, and students showing up to school with weapon in their bags. Why? They know you have the Baccalaureate Juvenile Rehabilitation Center, and they know you could be taken away from your home and your freedom will be taken away if you commit a crime, but it's like they don't care. So this is something that we need to reinstate a clinical psychologist within the system to ensure that we deal with whatever deviant behaviors that we have. And there are problems within the homes where we see breakdown in the homes that is creating problem between husband and wife, wife and husband, and children. Again, we need that counseling arm with this clinical psychologists, the churches, those NGOs. We need to see them come into the fold to assist. This is a call for a national reaction. We cannot leave it up to the government only, neither can we leave it up to the opposition, neither can we leave it up to the churches only. This is a call for a national reaction to this high level of crime that we see, crime and violence we're seeing in the country.
We also noticing that the most of the crimes that we see being committed are committed by young people. What's the opposition take on, or reasons why you think that it's like that?
It's a sad state, very, very sad state. Our young people who are the hope for this nation to bring about change and continued positive growth. If this continue to happen, we're going to have a serious problem. So let's get on to the real issue here. What is causing our young people to fall off the way they are falling off? Only yesterday I had a discussion with a gentleman who was doing some walkabouts and just interacting with young people, and he met a group of young men on the block, and they were angry, extremely angry. And they were angry because they were, first of all, they are not employed. They are not employed. And they were angry because they were promised they will get jobs. And they are still waiting. And they're seeing the level of rising cost of living and so forth, and not being able to take care of basic things. They're angry. And angry to the point where they spoke of violence. You have to try to calm them and say, no, that's not the answer. A lot of our young people, and based on what was said to me, are reacting because they felt used, they felt abused, and they felt dumped. We have to correct this. And this, the government has a significant role to play here to correct this. Have to do something to correct this. And if we don't, our young people will continue to become angrier. And it's not a good state for anyone to be in.
Well, you mentioned something in your last statements that you made, that young people are feeling used and so forth. But some folks would say it's a new government in power. Yes, they have just wrapped up their first year of being in government, and maybe the attention that should have been given to young people may not have been given. But is that a reason to state for the uprise that we've seen in violence, mostly around young people, but with young people?
Definitely not. No violence as an excuse. There are other means to addressing a situation, whatever confronts you. So violence is not an excuse. Clear and simple. However, when you have, remember, the government ride on the wave of youth and transformation. That was the cry that was given out there during the campaign. This is a moment for young people. This is the opportunity for young people. And the young people bought the narrative, or went with it, and they were expecting more. Come to think about it, just one example. You were told, send in your CV and you will be a part of boards and other organizations, or you will be given an opportunity that is created by the government. But lo and behold, said they had a lot of applications, but when we saw the people who were appointed to the boards were either former politicians of the NDC are very strong supporters of the NDC. We had none of our young people, or hardly of our young people, being involved or engaged. That is one of the frustration that they're dealing with, and they felt being used. And I'm saying we have to fix this. There must be a sense right now that you realize there is a problem and we have to address it. However, what we are seeing is a presentation on social media, pictures and the glitz and the glamour of the government, appearing as if everything is okay. Everything is not okay. Our young people are hurting, and they are the ones who put you there. At least have a heart, please. It's hurting me. Of course, it's hurting me as well. Have a heart, and let's save our young people.
No, being someone of the spiritual realm yourself, in terms of the level of violence we've seen and how and most of the causes of we hear the causes for folks having for some reason of us getting into violent altercation with themselves because of not being able to come to have proper discussion with each other. From a biblical point, being someone who represents from the church, how could we really speak to young people in that sense and curve it in terms of having that dialogue? What mode could be done?
Okay, well, I want to take you to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1 to 4. He says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the tongue of fools spurreth foolishness." There's a lot coded in this 4 verses. We have to get back to the place where we should be able to help our young people to use the tongues wisely. You see, because the tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright. Not every situation we have to put a handle to or answer or so. But as I said before, when there is a vacuum, people are not engaged in other ways. They use what is before them. And one will say on this, it is always said, an idle hand is a devil's workshop. We have to find ways to engage our young people. So the Imani program was one of those ways that you engage quite a lot of young people, and there you had those who go out in the community and engage people on the block. You had the FLY program, fostering level-headed youth. That was a program that took young men off the street, off the block, and engaged them in meaningful activities. Some become entrepreneurs and so forth. Then you have Empower. Again, where there are different levels of academic qualifications of our young men. So you had program tailored to deal with them at a specific level. Empower was one of them. When those programs are not given their rightful status, our young men are left in the open. We have to go back to those programs. As I said, this is a call for a national reaction, and I'm asking everyone to come on board.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take it. We come back with more discussions this morning here on the To The Point. Stay with us. It's Opposition Wednesday. Tuesday, my apology. Opposition Tuesday. We're coming right back.
July 29th.
NIS, our team proudly works to support the evolving needs of Grenadians. We have made some changes to our operations and want to keep you informed. Firstly, we are happy to introduce the new unemployment benefit. This benefit will provide an insured person with 50% of his or her former income in the case of sudden unemployment. To support this benefit and other benefits we offer, it was necessary to increase the contribution rate. The contribution rate will increase gradually each year until it reaches 16% in 2031. As always, the contribution will be split between you and your employer. The pensionable age will also increase from 60 to 65 years. This increase will also be gradually reaching age 65 in 2029. Pensioners will continue to be eligible for a pension from age 60, but will receive a reduced payment. The NIS recognizes that the prices of basic customer goods are increasing globally. Therefore, we are happy to also increase the weekly minimum pension payment by 25%. Finally, we have adjusted our survivor's benefit payment to a percentage of the age pension minimum. Widows, widowers, and dependent parents will receive 100% or $58 weekly, while children will receive 50% or $29 weekly of the deceased's pension. We are here to make the transition to these new changes as clear and simple as possible. If you have any questions on how these changes impact you and your family, please contact our new informational hotline at 440-6647 or visit www.nisgrenada.org. Thank you for allowing us to be your social security provider.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday, the 11th of July. Welcome back, Mr. Gawe, representing the New National Party or the opposition here in Grenada. Mr. Gawe, you spoke a wee bit on that, but you being, of course, a former minister or junior minister, I should say, in the Ministry of Youth. There was a lot of initiatives that you had started back then, and for some reason, some of these initiatives may have been stalled for whatever reason. Give us your perspective on that, or some of the initiatives that have been stalled. Now, you thought what's working for young people, and they may have been stalled now. Give us some initiatives on your take on that.
Well, certainly. I wouldn't say the Imani program is stalled. Mm-hmm. It has been on a low key implementation. And when you had a minister come in and say they will do some transformation to it, send it off from the Ministry of Youth to an agency, and cutting the location for the program, it created a sense of hopelessness for a lot of our young people, and frustration too, not knowing what's going to happen. Our young people are very important to us. Some people may say they are fragile. I don't think so. I think our young people are very innovative and very smart. But you have to meet them at the level and understand what they're dealing with at the time, find ways to help them to move on. So when you create this sort of doubt in a flagship program that would have served thousands of young people in the country, you basically were saying to them, you're not that important. As I spoke of Project Fly, you spoke of Empower. These programs were initiated, as I said, to deal with a level of crime, violence, hostility, and young men not being able to resolve conflict easily. You created those programs so you can deal with them. And the beauty of it, you had it in locations of close to their own homes, groups of 50, so not too much of a big group, and you saw results. And the beauty of this, when these young people graduated from the program, they were given startups, assistance to implement the business idea they worked on in the program. Okay. So, for example, you had some young men who, for all they wanted to do was just landscape, but they want to be good landscapers. So what you would need to be a good landscaper, obviously, the weed eater, a whacker, a blower, and rakes,
the necessary equipment.
Things. Right. Mm-hmm. Here, what was happening? So they got a stipend every month. $50 from the stipend was deducted and put into a pool. And at the end of the program, whatever they had, the government would match it to give them the startup for the program.
Okay.
So, I mean, you talk about a golden handshake. Of course, they got the startup capital to start the business. And it didn't end there. But you had officers who work with them, encourage them, iron out whatever problem they may have encountered along the way in implementing their project. And this basically helped. I'm not hearing this right now. So you don't just throw them out in the open sea, but you have to guide them along. For how long, I don't know, based on their level of appreciation for what they're doing. But it is important. These things helped. And it helped significantly. The country were at ease. People were breathing freely. And you move through the communities, you move through the cities, and you're seeing people moving around, bustling, doing their own thing because they had the ability to spend their own dollar. Not much of this is happening right now.
You know, we have just spoken extensively a lot on crime and young people in general this morning, and we also will invite calls from the viewing and listening public. They do have a question or two that they may like to ask you pertaining to your take or the New Nationals Party take on crime. Feel free to do so. We'll entertain those calls shortly. But I want to get into another bit of a conversation this morning. You know, what do you think about the present situation at with NADMA, as you've been previously responsible for there? What's your take on it? If you can speak on that briefly.
Well, what I can say, when we demitted office, at the time the agency was well poised to serve the nation in a more meaningful way, in terms of having a state-of-the-art, well, two state-of-the-art facilities, Manjalo and in Belmont, Carrico. We were just awaiting the receipt of state-of-the-art equipment to furnish those facilities. And there were other programs through the NTRC and this other one just slipped me, but to do with ensuring that the communication equipment we have in the facilities will be able to serve the nation and serve it well. So you got a good platform. Also, we would have tabled for first reading in the Parliament the new disaster management bill. Of course, with the proroguing of Parliament, it died. So it had to be resubmitted. It was resubmitted, and it is now law. It took a lot of work to get this where it is. I remember when having to deal with the consultants, they wanted a program that exclusively removed it from government. And I said, that could be a serious challenge, because if there is an issue and you have to issue a state of emergency, that should not be in the hand of the civilians. The Prime Minister still should have that authority. The Governor General should still have her authority, or his authority, or in this case, her authority. And as I said, we had to find a hybrid where we can do both. Yeah. And I must say, we were able to find a hybrid, and this happened. We also had, and the government, I must commend NADMA for leading this, it was a CAT DDO, and that project, again, is a project with the World Bank. It took some pushing and fighting to get it, but it's a catastrophic drawdown option. And what that means, in the event of national disaster or a semi-disaster, in a sense, the government had what we call the trigger. Could declare this a sub-national disaster. In this way, we had the ability to access up to $20 million to respond to the emergency. The government would have renewed it, and I must commend NADMA for leading this and making sure it happened. What else is happening inside of it? I don't really know.
So what are you suggesting they do to have a more revived?
Well, let's put it this way. you have a coordinator who has experience, and as long as you remain focused on doing the job, to incorporate all the districts, the 17 districts that you have, to be on top of the game and to represent their district properly, we should not have too much of a problem. Because in the event of a crisis or disaster, you expect the district to be the eyes and ears of NADMA throughout the country, and be able to bring communities together to respond adequately. So I want to trust that this is happening. As I said, I haven't heard much, but
because we are into the season.
We are into the
hurricane season and stuff now.
Yes, and we must be thankful that it is not as aggressive as it was expected at this point in time. But I want to give them, not hearing, but still give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing what needs to be done to keep the districts energized and making things happen.
All right. At this stage, we're going to entertain some calls from our viewers and listeners out there. If you do have a question or two, feel free to do so. 435-2041, 435-2041. Let's go to the phone line, entertain our first caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning. And how are you?
Not bad, caller. Go right ahead with your contribution.
Mr. Gawi.
Good morning.
Mr. Gawi. Mr. Gawi.
Your contribution, please, caller.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gawi, as a pastor, I feel you could do much better. Technical things that you is doing there. Is a technical system you're working there. As when you call 1951, when Gary says Sky Red, he didn't tell people go and burn people, please. He didn't tell people go and fight with one another. He don't tell people go and rob people. But remember, you as a pastor, stop playing porcupine with yourself. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. 435-2041, 435-2041. Feel free to give us a call. If you do have a question or two you may like to ask, feel free to do so. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. GT. How you do?
I'm doing pretty well. What about you?
Very well, thanks.
All right.
Man, I miss you all the time, but you know what happened? Busy on the road, and I'm looking for $1 to wear.
All right, understand.
However, I want to ask me. First time I think I heard that before. Mr. Gadaway is a pastor. Mr. Gadaway, are you really a pastor? I want to know, please, are you really a pastor, the man of God who preaches the word of God? Are you really, sir?
Good morning. My name is Winston Garraway.
Yes, Winston Garraway. Are
yes,
you
I'm a minister
pastor?
of religion. Thanks.
Are you a pastor?
She keep asking if you is if you
are
a pastor.
You a pastor, man of God that preaches the word of God? Are you, sir?
It's a religion. So,
I not hear what you're saying.
Whatever else.
However, seeing that you're so negligent to say,
okay, let me just say to you,
a pastor or not,
I am here to speak on the level of crime in the country.
You mean
I am not the subject of.
Are you ashamed to identify
I am not the
with
subject
God?
of.
Hey!
If you want to ask question on me, we can do that. But this is a time.
However, Mr. Gadaway,
the new national party to present its position.
Believer, make mistake but proud to say it anyway.
You want to speak to me?
Caller and Mr. Gadaway, let's put that cap on it for a minute. Caller, just hold please. Caller, could you just go ahead with your general question instead of the back and forth, please?
Mr. Gadaway, let me tell you something and listen clearly. You done. You finish. The NNPN coming back. So this lie and string and chang, all you're trying to pull the. Let me tell you something. Is God take all you out? So all you went coming back, Dr. Mitchell sending all you like some kind of bamboozan. You don't see using all you dotish.
All right, caller, thank you for your contribution. Have a good morning.
Okay.
435.
I just want to say here, as I've said, I'm here to represent the International Party. The caller seems want to engage personally with me. I can communicate with you personally if you want to do so. However, your attack on me and and so on is nothing much. I will give you back the same scripture that I spoke of earlier, Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1 to 4. Go back and read it, and if you call yourself a woman of God, check yourself. But I give you the peace of God. I still love you. Have a great day.
Let's go to another caller. I guess we lost that caller there. 435-2041. We got 10 more minutes left on today's program. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. JT. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Caraway. You is your own disaster all by yourself. You don't need help. And stop it. As you just tell somebody you're a man of God, you're a man of the devil. Shut up.
All right, caller, have a good morning. 435-2041. 435-2041. Let's entertain. And if the calls seem to be going out of whack, I will probably discontinue the calling segment. Anyway, let's go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning and welcome. Good morning to you, caller.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing?
Not bad, sir.
All right, so I would like to stay on topic in terms of the crime in the country, right? So a number of points were brought up that I would like us to really look at. Mr. Gary brought up a number of significant points. But at the same time, a lot of them were a bit one-sided in that I'm a young person myself. Let me start there. I'm a young person, so I'm speaking from the perspective of a young person. We have a number of young people who are still on the blocks. And yes, they may feel that, they're not finding work, they're not getting work. But if it is that you sit on the block day after day, you don't expect a job to come and meet you on the block. That is one thing. Now, there are a number of programs geared towards youth empowerment in the country right now. There was under the previous administration, there are under this previous administration. And I think that when we make it seem that the youths are being abandoned under this present administration, it is a bit one-sided, because the same can be said for the youths under the previous administration, because there were a number of youths on the block saying that the government isn't doing anything for them. In terms of the level of crime, I always say the generation that precedes us, we are to blame for some of them is doings. Because if my generation tolerates a level of incompetence and we behave incompetently ourselves, we can't expect for the generation after us to do any better, because they're basically emulating what they would have seen. And the older heads have a lot of flack to get for a lot of the things that my generation, the 25 to 35-year-olds, are doing at this point in time, because we would have seen a number of questionable behavior from the older heads. Every tub, the Bible says that every tub has to sit on its own bottom, meaning that everyone has to give account for their actions. But the Bible also tells us that blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the way of the Lord, and in his law shall he meditate day and night. Which means to say that if our actions are unbecoming of a Christian, and we influence others by our lives in that way, we too shall be held partially responsible for what they would have done. As a society, we need to go back to our foundation and our roots. We have a system going around right now whereby you have people who are trying to get rid of corporal punishment altogether, not just in the schools, but in the homes as well. And the Bible tells us that we should spare not the rod, lest we spoil the child. We have a number of things that we as a society need to work on to be able to create a better environment for the young people that are coming up after us. And if we step away from the partism and politics and try to work together in that regard, because as a man of faith, that is what we should be looking for. The coming together, whether green, yellow, black, or blue, is more so a coming together for the society's benefit. If we try to do that a little more, I think that we might have a chance. Based on the scriptures, we know that is worse the world is going to get. No matter how we try to paint it, is worse the world is going to get. But we can try to minimize within our little corner how bad it gets. And if we minimize in our little corner how bad it gets, then that would provide a greater impact for the world at large. That's all I would like to offer at this point. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution. Any response to the caller?
Well, I must indeed say it was a sober reflection, and I want to commend him for it. And the last point is one that, well, a lot of them stayed with me, but this is the last one. So he said, if we can do a little in our corner, we can minimize the violence that is to be had or to be seen in the world. And I agree with you. And that's the reason why I'm here, asking for us to see this as a national response to a plaguing problem, which is crime.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And what I'm about to say, I do not want anyone to take any political spin on it or so on. It's not meant to make any political point. I think when we look at the problem today in this past year, 12-month period, with regard to violent crimes, we have to think about the word incubation. In science, there's something called an incubation period. So what you see now didn't just happen within the past year. The ingredients, the milieu, the environment that created such a dilemma has been festering for a while. And that's where we need to go back to the root cause analysis. What kind of political discourse we've been having? When we get on the air and the news media, do we cut one another's throat? Are we there to quote the guest? Have we been intolerant of one another? Do we push one agenda because it satisfies our own self-interest rather than the interest of the nation? And I think if we approach this thing from that perspective, we won't solve all the problem, but it may facilitate us solving some of the problem. If we think, for example, we don't have enough dentists in Grenada, and a leader comes and says we're going to make improvement, we're going to have more dentists, it's not going to happen overnight unless we import dentists. To be a dentist, you've got to go to school. You go to secondary school, you go to university, you go to dental school. Just the university and the dental school takes about 7 years. And then you got to go to internship, etc. So the dividends will be reaped years down the road. So I may not experience the dividend of that good work that person with good intention is trying to do for my country. My generation or the younger folks may reap those things in the future. So it's very important that we manage expectation. And yes, even if a particular political party comes and say we're going to be changed, there's going to be change, there's going to be transformation, the result of such transformation will not be realized immediately. It will not be realized in a year's time unless we import folks to do those things. And so I think we, in our discourse, we should be very candid about making that point, managing expectation, and instead not play on mismanagement of expectation to suit our agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. In response to the caller?
Yes, I certainly made quite a lot of significant points. I like what you ended with, manage expectations. That is something that we must practice daily. But I just want to take you back. When you had the leader of the NDC in the campaign saying that contract work was illegal and there shall not be two parallel public service, there shall be one, and everyone will be made permanent. How would you manage this when you get into office and you blatantly refuse to do it? Those things is nice to say, but I have come to the realization that we say things conveniently to get us to the place where we want to get, and after that we care nothing else about people. My brother, yes, we have to manage expectations, but right now we have to fix the damages that was made.
All right. Mr. Garwood, we have gotten to that point of the morning when we have to take a wrap for today's program. Any final comment before we wrap this morning?
Well, yes, I do trust that we will see some movement from the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, as it relates to bringing the social partners together, revisiting visit the social compact and see the tools that is available to find creative solutions to problems in the nation. As I've said, the government will never be able to find solutions for all the problems. Hence the reason why you have the social partners to help. What I have not seen and we have not seen is reaching out and bringing them. If you have done it privately, that doesn't really help. So we need to do this thing together. Call the social partners together. The new National Party is available. Dr. Mitchell has said it consistently. He has been the National Security Minister for many years. And he has said it consistently. I am there to assist if I'm asked. We are there. As a new National Party, we are there to help. Because this is our country. And let me just end by saying, if the government does bad, we all will feel it. We all will face it. This is not an election period. This is a time for governance and to ensuring that people receive benefits and the country do well. This is what it is. And if it's not working, what you're doing not working, reach out. Reach out. And we are there to help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Garwood. Folks, that's how we say goodbye for today's program, and join us again for another edition tomorrow here on the GBN TV and Classic Radio. Until then, have a good day, folks. Be good to yourself and others. That's how we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point.